Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Q&A for the SF Indie Fest Shorts Film Festival 2022. We've got another great Q&A here for you for the program Touching and Authentic, and we have some great filmmakers. They've joined us today too. Hey, filmmakers, thanks for joining.
Hey,
Hello.
how's it going? How's it?
Nice to have you here. Nice to see your faces. First off, congrats on making a movie, let alone getting into our film festival.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm a filmmaker too, so I know it's no small achievement to get one made. You know what? So I can get orientated, introduced to your faces and names. Introduce yourself and your role on your film and what film you're associated with, and then maybe also a brief just description of your film so I can put your face to your movie. I'll start
Yeah,
with Christian since you're on my screen next.
sure. Hi, guys. I'm Christian Santiago. I am the writer and director of Empathy or The Girl with the Curled Hair. It is a film that we shot in San Francisco during the pandemic. It is about a 16-year-old recently rehabilitated drug addict named Ivy who runs away from her emotionally abusive mother and takes refuge in her older friend's apartment in Oakland, who is a recovered addict as well. And it's about them two coming together while Ivy tries to face her trauma.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Beth, how about you go next?
Hi, everyone. My name's Beth Evans. I am the director, producer, and editor of Going Away Party. Going Away Party is a little bit of an absurd dramedy about an ordinary Joe who has been chosen to take part in NASA's colonizing mission to Mars, not for any special skill set he has, but because of a rare biological attribute that he has. And
I
thematically,
remember that now. Okay. I
yeah.
remember that line.
Yeah, and I would say thematically, it's mostly about our need to matter in this world, and what would we be willing to sacrifice in order to live a life larger than one we could have ever imagined for ourselves. So that's what the film's about to me, anyways. And yeah, that's about it.
Right on. Ethan, you next, please. Where are you calling in from, Ethan?
Calling in from Berlin, Germany.
Right on. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So my name is Ethan Grossman. I was born and raised in Oakland, California, and went to school in Washington, D.C. at American University. And the film that you guys just saw was Righteous. It was my senior thesis film, which is about a family. Takes place over a Shabbat dinner where the parents are introducing their children to the third person in their relationship for the first time. And it highlights each different child's reaction to this news, and they all kind of navigate it in their own unique ways.
Yes, wonderful family conversation, dinner table conversation. And Nicole, tell me your real name.
My real name is Jennifer Julik. I'm on my daughter's computer and I can't seem to know, I don't know how to change it.
That's
So
correct. I wrote it down.
my film is called Airspace, and it is about a young woman who wants to end her life in the isolation of a forest. And suddenly a drone appears and it won't let her be. It won't abandon her, even though she wants it to leave her alone. It won't. And it's, what happens after that. So,
That's great. So where did your idea come from? Where did your inspiration come from?
well, let's see. I think I just, sometimes with ideas, I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, what if this happened, or what if someone, and how would it be if someone wanted to end their life, and what could intervene that wasn't a person, that wasn't a human, that she could maybe relate to, because she hasn't been relating to humans. And so that was the idea about it. And then my usually writing process is I'll write a short story first, because I'm the writer director, and I was first a writer. So I usually write my stuff in short story form, and then I switch it to a short film.
And same question to you, Ethan, although I can kind of guess where your inspiration came from, possibly. How did you get the catalyst idea for your film, Ethan?
It may not be exactly the way that you think, Jason. And actually, my brain works in a weird way where it started with an idea about food and conversations around the dinner table. I'm kind of a firm believer that the most important conversations happen over food, and I'm interested in the relationship between food and family. So it started there, and then it went to kind of what is the most ridiculous conversation I can imagine a family having. So I have no personal experience in this, only just mind exploration of kind of thinking about what it would be like. But this idea popped into my head, and then I started kind of exploring what it would be like as a child with parents that are of a similar age if they were to kind of reveal that their love life had moved in a new direction. So each three of the children kind of have a little bit of me in
I see.
them.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy food movies or food inspired films, and it seems to be a whole genre. Not that yours is a food movie, but there seems to be a food genre now too. Great scenes. Christian, how'd you get your idea? Where'd it come from?
Yeah, so like Ethan, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up in Orinda, California, which anyone from the Bay Area might know as this like random like suburb tucked right behind Berkeley. And it was a very interesting place to grow up for me because I was one of only maybe 3 or 4 Latino people in my entire town. And I really saw a bunch of these like kids, come from silver spoon. They came from old money and they had everything in the world. And I saw a lot of kids really fall into sex addiction and drug addiction and alcohol addiction at a really, really young age. And as I grew older, especially when I went to college and left Orinda and started thinking about my childhood, the more I thought about it, the more I realized a lot of the friends that I made, that I broke bread with, that I grew up with, really just needed help and they didn't really have the proper support system that they needed, right? Simultaneously that, and the story is also based off of my friend Joe's real life. Joe also kind of grew up in my neighborhood as well, and when they first came out to their family, they got kicked out and would tell me stories about how they would house runaway queer teens in their apartment in Oakland because they knew what it's like to not really have a safe space for queer teens to be at because they were once them. And it was kind of a combination of those two stories coming together. And I wanted to try to do right to both Joe, who plays them basically themselves in my story, and the people that I grew up with. Oh, Jason, I think you're muted.
Thank you. So that Joe is actually kind of playing a rendition of her story, herself a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I worked really closely with Joe to try to get their story right. I would show them early drafts. I mean, this is an idea that I had since 2017, and I filmed a 5-minute version of that with my friends. It was just like a spec sort of thing, and I just kept stewing on the idea, and it kind of came together when the pandemic happened. And luckily, Joe was still in the Bay Area when I moved back home during the pandemic. So immediately I was like, hey, I want to remake Empathy. I want you to be in it if you're still down. And they're like, absolutely. So
Right
it
on.
came together perfectly.
Yeah, I love the film. Beth, where'd your idea come
Thank you,
from?
sir.
What was your inspiration?
I actually am not the writer of the film. The lead actress, Ali, it's her husband who wrote the film. I love directing, I love producing, but I'm not a big fan of writing. So I'm the one who's always like, who's got a script? Who's got a script? Send me your script, send me your script. So I read a lot of scripts. I guess what I loved about this one is I loved the honesty and the sincerity of the character and his open vulnerability to just saying like, I know that there's nothing remarkable about me, but I've got this ticket to greatness that I haven't earned, that is just a fluke. But I need this. I need this in my life. I loved the honest, kind of like pathetic, but not in a negative way, but like just the open honesty of that monologue and the ridiculousness of the situation, and sort of having this ridiculous situation in this sort of sci-fi theme, but with a really, really grounded, deep human need to matter, to be more than you thought that they were going to be, no matter how it happens. I loved that idea. It's an 8-minute short. But there's that one kernel of an idea in there that I loved so much. I thought it was really honest and funny and
authentic and touching, as is the program title. And not only is the dialogue story like that, and all these films, performances are exceptional, are very good. Beth, I'm still on you. In addition to the guy, wonderful performances. Are you friends with Ali? First off, because you said you got the story from her, the script from her husband or something. Her performance was exceptional.
Yeah, Ali was the lead in a film, my first film that I did, which was called The Bubble, which was at your festival last year.
Love that movie.
Yeah, so Ali and I, since The Bubble, I just was connected with her through a friend of a friend, but we have become creative partners together since making The Bubble in 2020. And so yeah, so it's her husband, and I would say we're friends now. We're kind of partners. So
Cool.
yeah.
Please tell her I said hello.
I will. But my problem is all my director's demo reel is gonna only have Ali in it.
It'll serve you well. It'll serve you well. Other directors, check her out. Maybe think about casting her in your future projects. Ethan and Jennifer, wonderful performances as well. Jennifer, let me start with you. Anyways, she was just wonderful in the film.
Okay.
She seemed terrified and scared.
Oh, good. Well, she was excellent. I mean, we auditioned and she just was so wonderful. And she really, I mean, it's great as a writer, and people have said this a number of times, that when you write something and then a character brings that, an actor brings that character to life, it's just, you're just in awe, because you said, oh my God, that's exactly what I saw. That's exactly what I wanted. And she was unbelievable. She has since moved down to Los Angeles, and she's starting her career down there as an actress. But I was just so lucky to get her. She was
Yeah,
great.
and then in like Christian and Best movies, she's kind of carrying the whole thing herself. There's just either two or a single person, so that's a lot of responsibility, if you will.
Right.
Ethan, you had what do you call it? A group of actors riffing off of each other, but the performances are real. The parents are wonderful. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was, if not the most, one of the hardest part of the pre-production part was casting 6 people all in the DC area, which is not, the biggest film industry in the world, but there's some sort of community there. But we ended up outsourcing to a couple folks were from Pennsylvania and a few others deeper into Maryland. But we made this on a pretty tight deadline. I had to have a finished product by the end of May, and we started working on it in January. So while we were casting, the script was still going through a lot of changes in my head, and the characters were still kind of forming. So it was difficult to kind of cast, but also not 100% know who these people were. So kind of similar to Jennifer, a lot of the actors ended up bringing their own sense of the character into them. And then I was able kind of to form the character around who they were, which was really helpful because, as I'm sure you guys know, as writers, you end up kind of hitting a wall and getting a little stuck with your story, and also knowing who your characters are. So it's helpful to have a deadline, can be helpful as well, but also having kind of a guiding presence of an actor was really helpful.
So casting was a little bit challenging.
Yeah, I mean, just resources in general were really limited. So, the actor, we couldn't pay the actors a super competitive rate. So they were taking it on because they really enjoyed the story and because they needed stuff to work on for their portfolio as well. So that created a really great blend of kind of mutual respect and really wanting to work together just based on the story. But finding 6 really quality actors, I think in general for a super low budget film is never easy. And I think we got really lucky with the people we ended up casting.
Yeah. Making a low budget film is not easy, period. Making a film is not easy, period. So yeah, it makes it even more challenging. Jennifer, what were some of your challenges?
2 challenges is that the location for the drone, because drones are not allowed in any areas that are parks or whatever.
Where'd you film it?
I ended up getting, it was a great experience because we ended up getting a VRBO and that had lots of land around it. So the cast was able to stay in this huge house all together. And then we would go off in the woods in the morning to shoot it. So that was the first, that took me forever to find a house to rent that had property. And the second was actually finding a deaf actor, an actual deaf actor for the ending, because I wasn't going to do it without an actual deaf actor. And I looked all in the area, all in the Bay Area. I put out feelers and I couldn't get anybody. And I finally got somebody to respond from LA, and we flew him up, and I saw his reel and he was fantastic. So that were the two challenges, is to get the location and to get a deaf actor. It was difficult.
Can you turn off your volume in the background? I'm hearing an echo. It was a nice little twist at the end there too. That was unexpected for me in the story.
Yeah, well, I learned something on set because during writing the script, I edited it down a lot, and she had a lot more dialogue, but I really wanted to cut it down. But when he showed up on set, he told me, deaf people don't really read lips that much. So I had to change the script right there where he says, I can understand a little bit, because I expected that he would be able to read lips through the drone, the whole thing. But so he can understand her, but he understands her with his heart more than listening to her words. So anyway, yeah.
Fantastic. And Beth, any challenges making your film all one location? That's kind of convenient. That's helpful.
It was. I guess the challenge was that we had to be out of that bar by 3:30. So
Was it just a one-day shoot?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we showed up and I don't know how much of it you remember, but there was a lot of decoration that had to be done for the party and everything. And so it was December in Toronto, it was freezing. And yeah, I mean, that was our big, we were just going against the clock, because we had, we were there at 5 a.m. and then we had to be out by 3:30. So that was it. That was it. Everything else was great.
And Christian, I'll ask you the same question, but let me ask Ethan first. One location for the most part, other than like the bedroom or the driveway. Any challenges other than the casting, no budget actors?
Yeah, finding a location was hard. And I mean, when I wrote this, I knew that I wanted to keep it in one location because I knew that we were going to have a limited amount of time and resources. But it's funny you ask. The 12 hours before we were supposed to really start shooting, our location actually canceled on us. So we had to do, during our big setup day and rehearsal day, we had to do a company move about 40 minutes away. And luckily my gaffer and good friend, her family lived nearby, and they were willing to give us the house for the weekend. And they're thanked in my credits. They're just wonderful people, because they literally saved the film, and their house ended up working a lot better, I think, for the family. And it was just, it was a blessing in disguise, but it was extremely stressful in the moment.
It seems to always work out better when that happens. However, are they still your friends?
Yeah, we're very close friends. I love
even after filming the movie in their house. Okay,
yes,
good.
yes. A good bottle of wine goes a long way.
Christian, you probably had the most locations, and you don't have to speak to that, but challenges for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most challenging part was just the whole creation of it, because we filmed this in the middle of the pandemic. And we shot it on 16mm film, which is something that I'm very proud about.
Yeah,
and we only shot it in one weekend. So I only had enough money to shoot it in 3 days. And it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. But I had to cut like 5 pages in the middle of shooting, because we just ran out of time, budget reasons. We ran out of film. Like there's a whole 4 scenes that were so crucial to it that we had to cut that. I mean, it works. Thank God the film works. But
it's probably improved. It's probably improved because of that. I mean, cutting always benefits, the story.
Yeah. To me, it was like there was more context to the story that just got taken out, but the narrative throughout it still works. So there was just mainly that, just filming in the pandemic and filming in 3 days. I mean, my lead actress had a false positive the day before we started shooting.
Who did?
My lead actress, the girl that played Ivy.
Oh.
Had a false positive. We were all freaking out. I was like, I can't believe we have to cancel this. We just rented all the camera gear. But luckily it was a false positive. Like, she got tested twice again the next day. She was negative. It was all good.
Right. Just added to the stress and the tension. Do you think maybe shooting the pandemic, one of the things I love about your movie, I mean, there's so much atmosphere. You've got so much mood. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's like I'm in the neighborhood. I'm in their space.
Yeah.
Do you think the pandemic helped create that, or were you going for that? Talk about that.
I mean, for me, it was really important just in general to capture the Bay Area in the atmosphere. Whether that was her being in her rich fancy San Francisco like neighborhood that she grew up in, or whether that was this tiny ass apartment in Oakland, or filming this giant house party in like a Victorian, which is the single most Bay Area thing I think I could ever do. But it's important to me that we just captured the feeling that I felt growing up in the Bay Area, in this atmosphere.
Yeah. I do, and I love your opening too. You grabbed me from the beginning, on that street. Uh,
Yeah.
was that a drone shot or I can't remember?
No, that shot we rigged up the camera operator to the back of a truck bed, and we just filmed it down one street. That was also a challenge, I will say, because we didn't have a permit for that street, and it was a closed off neighborhood in San Francisco. So the neighbors were real mad that we were there. I remember my favorite memory of shooting was we only got that shot twice. And I wanted to go for a third time, but one of the neighbors walks out and he's like, "Hey man, listen, if your camera operator is going to be talking shit, like I'm going to call the cops." And I was like, "What are you talking about, sir?" And immediately my camera operator stands up. It's like, "What did you just say to me? We'll go right now." And I had to be like, "No,
Oh,
I
no.
cannot afford an incident right now." So we just left, but it worked out. The shot worked out perfectly. I am also really happy we got the opening song for it. Miracle. So.
Yeah, I was curious if that was a question too. But you had someone else record it, right? It's a different recording version.
Yeah. So
It wasn't Kate Bush. It wasn't Kate Bush that actually was singing.
No. So music is really important to all my films, and with this one, I really wanted to get a lot of songs for my short films, and I wrote the script like 4 specific songs, Run Up the Hill being one of them. And so I was talking to the people. It was me and my friend who's in music publishing. We were able to email, the different contracts. We were able to get the contract signed, and I couldn't get Kate Bush's original version of Run Up That Hill. Turns out the reason why is because she had an exclusive deal with Netflix, unbeknownst to me. But I was able to get a cover of that song. And luckily, my favorite band in the entire world, Chromatics, has a beautiful cover of that song.
Wow.
And we were already in talks with them anyway. So it worked out, and in my opinion, it worked out way better. I think the cover of that song works better in the context of the film than the original.
Yeah. What are some of your influences? The reason why I ask, I'll ask this of the other filmmakers too. And this is a compliment. It reminds me of Donnie Darko as far as texture and mood.
Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I would say all my influences. I like writing. I hate the word teen drama because I think there's a negative connotation when it comes to that, but I like having teen protagonists with my short films. I like writing things that are grounded and real. So like Kids by Larry Clark, Out of the Blue by Dennis Hopper, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, all huge inspirations to.
Makes sense. I see that.
Yeah, Fire Walk with Me specifically. I remember watching that for the first time while we were in pre-production, and I was like, "Oh, he got it! Like David Lynch nailed it. Cool. I now have a blueprint." And
Nice.
It worked out perfectly. I remember showing Talia, my lead actress, that movie and Kids, like those two, like, "Hey, try to capture this, like
right
these
on.
performances."
Right on. How about you, Beth? What are some of your influences in your work or this film in particular?
I would say I'm drawn more to like the linear narrative. I like film, but I have to say I love TV. So I love Fleabag. I love a British series that I just saw called This Way Up. Like very character-driven, complex characters. Sort of anything that brings you into the more absurdity of being a human being in the kind of ridiculous situations that we get into, but heartfelt and grounded with a tinge of the absurd and funny and real and raw. I consume a lot of television. I have told myself that I need to start watching movies again, but since TV's gotten so good, I have to say I just keep getting drawn into my
TV and streaming media. The series is just so good. It's and it lends itself to character-driven stories, nuances. So it's a perfect medium for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I finally watched Coda last night, which is ridiculous that it's taken me so long, but I bawled my eyes out. And I just like a good, I like to feel and I like to laugh. So I don't know, it's a broad spectrum.
Right. Ethan, how about you? anything influence you for your film, or just influences your kind of media making?
Yeah, for this film, I don't know if I can give a perfect one-to-one comp, but I feel like uh, Wes Anderson in terms of tone, less so in style. I wasn't trying to do any of that. But I think the way that he plays with family dynamics and kind of like uh, realism with a hint of absurdity is something that I really like to go for. But then also like really genuine human portrayals. There's a show on HBO that is no longer, but it was called High Maintenance, and each episode was like different vignettes of people around New York, and I feel like that has probably had more influence on me than anything else writing wise, of just how to be really true to different kinds of characters and stories.
Got it. Jennifer,
Yes.
were you influenced by anything, or does your work show influences of other?
Well, in general, my two favorite directors are Barry Levinson, who did Diner, and
Sorry about that.
also
No, I'm still on my call, but I can work while I do my call.
Hey, Christian, mute yourself, Christian, please. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, so I said Barry Levinson and also Alexander Payne for
Love those guys.
Sideways and Nebraska. But mainly my influences have to be a writer, Raymond Carver. He's a short story writer. And I just fell in love with, he's the one that inspired me to write. And he's just fantastic. So, but I guess, I guess that's my influences. Like I can't think, and no particular influence for this particular movie, but in general, in the big picture, those are my influences and people I love. Yeah.
And have you learned anything? Are you a first-time filmmaker, Jennifer? I didn't.
No, I started actually when I was 45.
Huh?
I'm now 63. And so
So have you learned anything as a filmmaker, or just in general about yourself growing as movies get made?
You mean as a writer? I mean, sorry, say the question again.
Have you learned anything, either as a person or a filmmaker? You know, a lot of times people say, "Oh, I've learned how to direct." I'm even looking for more than that. Have you learned anything about yourself?
Oh, yes, that I can do this. I mean, I didn't think I could do it, and I was
even at 64, after making some movies, you were still.
I do now. Yes, I do. And this question is, do I want to deal with the challenges? Because as everybody knows, there's massive amounts of challenges. Am I still up for it? But
right.
I'll get an idea and I say, God, I got to do this, and there's no question about it. So.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah.
Ethan, have you learned anything? Anything new?
Oh my God. I'm still learning everything. I like the power of collectivism and working together to make something. I think there's no better feeling in the world.
Yeah.
So no matter, it's the hardest thing to make a film, as you said like many times so far. But the relief you get and that like burst of adrenaline while on set and after finishing something is it's pretty drug-like, and like I want to keep doing it. And the fact that I don't have to do it on my own. I'm not a person that likes to work solo like that. So making something with a team of 15, 20, or even larger is it's really gratifying.
Yeah, indeed. Beth, what have you learned about yourself or filmmaking?
I would say I'm still pretty new at it, but I would say from this last project that sometimes there's an energy of often a fast-paced energy on set, and sometimes in my brain will say, it's fine, let's move on, we got it, it's fine. But there's another part of my brain that says, no, you didn't get it. And it's either performance, or you saw a boom shadow, or you saw something and it's just like, no, but like, we gotta go. And then I'll always regret that in post. And I've told myself, you need to listen to that voice, because there's the producer voice, which I'm always the producer director. So I'm pushing myself to get the day, I'm pushing myself. But there's the director and the person who's going to be editing and sitting in post saying like, you didn't get that and you knew it. So it's about letting that little voice that says, no, go back, like get what you need. Don't be influenced by outside pressures, and there are many. It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard. That's part of one of the skills of directing, right? It's like to keep true to your vision.
It's just finding about that balance. So I really learned that on this one. I had a really tight timeline, but I was like, no, you did have time though to go back and get a few things. So
let's say bye to Christian. I think he has to sign off. Christian, you still there?
Bye, Christian.
Yeah, so sorry, I got caught up with work, unfortunately, but I really appreciate you guys having me. I can't wait. I'm flying back home next weekend for the festival, so Hope to see you guys there.
We'll see you there. Thanks, Christian.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.
And you know what? On that note, we'll just leave one more final say from you guys. If you want to say anything else that I didn't ask you or make any comments, now's your chance. Ethan, go ahead, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oof. I guess I'll just jump off of the point that Beth was just making. That is, yeah, that finding the balance between actually fulfilling a production and keeping everyone happy on set and fulfilling your creative vision, I think will be a balance that every director and writer and producer will have to work on for their whole career. Because we went through the same exact thing, and like we had to condense 2.5 days into 2 days, and there were so many times where I wanted to say no, we have to get it again, and we just had to keep going. And I think to counter like that feeling in post when you didn't get it, there's also always that like we did get it, maybe it wasn't perfect, but kind of just living with everything that happened in production and knowing that you did the best you could given the resources that you had.
Yeah, I bet you, I'm a filmmaker too. I bet you that never really stops, right? Even if you've made 10, 20 films, that kind of, that tug between, do we got it? Am I good enough? All those things never really ends. You just got to learn how to manage it.
Yeah. There's never enough time and there's never enough money.
No.
Yeah.
And Jennifer,
Yes. Yeah.
you've made a couple films. You still get that, yin and yang of like,
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part is the editing. I mean, that's when everything comes to life. I mean, I love editing. And yeah, it's very hard when maybe you're arguing with an actor about how to do something, and you say, look, I appreciate it. I wish we had the money and time to do it your way, but you're gonna have to do it my way because we just don't have the time. But and then just in the editing, you just do the best you can. When you don't get something, you just do what you can do. So I love it, and I really appreciate being part of the festival, and I can't wait to meet everybody.
well, we appreciate you guys being part of the festival, making the films, and figuring out what decisions to make on set because you made wonderful movies. So you made good choices. Well done. All right. Well, that's great. That's all the time we have. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to the filmmakers. Congratulations to you, filmmakers.
Thank you.
Thank you
we'll
so much, Jason.
You're welcome. We'll see you at the Roxy, and good luck on your future endeavors. All right, everybody. That's it. Check out more indie films at sfindie.com, and thanks for supporting independent film. Bye, everybody. And stop recording.